Addie, you're in Florida, not far from where the speech is still taking place. The former president spoke to a crowd of supporters. There were some big applause lines. There were some moments that he kind of jumped from point to point, place to place, person to person. What would you say is the main thrust of what he said tonight?
Well, really, he has really focused on this indictment near the end, calling it a persecution, not an investigation, saying our country is going to hell, really honing in on calling the district attorney of Manhattan a racist Democrat, saying he's doing everything in his power to indict him, despite the fact that prosecutors have defended this investigation. We heard some cheering, we heard some clapping, we heard some boos up there. You know, Trump really sounded serious during this speech. It wasn't one of those where he comes out and he's really energizing the crowd. The crowd was still energized, but it was definitely a different tone, Chance. And all is pretty quiet. I mean, about an hour ago or so, there was cars driving past the bridge that overlooks Mar-a-Lago, honking their horns. They had flags on their vehicles that were waving in the air saying Trump 2024. It's all quiet right now. I think everybody's tuning in. Everybody's listening in. We really thought we would hear a little bit more about that 2024 presidential campaign, and I'm sure those remarks may be coming. But really, the bulk of it near the beginning focused on the indictment and his feelings and how he feels that he is being targeted, how he feels like the investigation is going out in Georgia, how he feels about the raid that happened in Mar-a-Lago when FBI agents went in there, talking about how they took his medical records, claiming that they took his passport. We don't know whether that is true. We'll have to look into those statements and get some verification on that, but also honing in on Hunter Biden and how he feels that investigators should really be looking into him, saying that Twitter and Facebook have colluded in order for Hunter's story to not get as many, not be circulated as widely. So, we'll continue to listen to these remarks, but really a different tone here today. And I think that we were hoping to see more of an energized Trump talking about 2024 presidential campaign, but he's really talking about this indictment. Chance?
Well, Andrew, the side-by-side in some ways is striking. This afternoon, Trump did not speak. He was kind of slouched in some of the pictures in the courtroom. He was stone-faced walking out. Tonight, he had a little more verve. But I don't know. What were we hearing here? Because we were told this is going to be sober, it's going to be focused, this is going to be his side. But it was almost like going down the buffet at Golden Corral. I mean, it was a little bit of everything. What did we just hear?
Yeah, well, Chance, I think that's a one way to put it, and I think it's an accurate way. I think that anyone kind of tuning into this, it was really a reminder of all the legal jeopardy that he is in. He went into, of course, the Jack Smith Department of Justice investigation into classified materials, went into Georgia, went into even some of the January 6th stuff. It really was kind of an encompassing moment for all of his legal troubles at one time. And I think it is a bit of a surprise to us who have been kind of watching the reaction, especially reaction from Republicans who are making the point, even like the Mitt Romneys of the world, not the biggest Donald Trump fans, that, hey, regardless of Donald Trump, put him aside, the case is not strong in their view. And I think Donald Trump and his lawyers certainly have been making this case. This was an opportunity to come out and kind of lay out some of the major faults that the opponents of this indictment feel are legally relevant. And Donald Trump, to this point, and I know he's kind of continuing to go right now, has not really gone into any of the nuance here. And I think it is really tough, especially if there are those around Trump, to separate this, because this is different than politics. And even when he was going through the impeachments, that's still at the heart a political matter. But anything he's saying tonight is relevant to the case. Anything he says as a campaign, as he continues to campaign for president, is legally potentially a pitfall for him. And so to hear him kind of go over a lot of these recycled arguments may be a little bit surprising to those who felt like he actually does have some standing and some ground to make the case to the American people that this is more politics than it is legalese.
Which, Andrew, here at Scripps News, we always like to present what is happening, present it to the viewer. We believe they are smart, they're wise, they can make of it what they will. Trump did directly jump in right off the top when he knew he'd probably have his largest audience to a few of the, of the issues that he brings up quite a bit. Democrats spying on his campaign, the impeachment hoaxes, Russia hoax, as he calls it, Hunter Biden's laptop. There were several other things there. Anything that we do want to clarify or fact check?
Well, that's a lot there, Chance, but I do think it's important to note that a lot of those allegations have not really come to fruition. There was a Robert Mueller investigation into potential collusion with Russia, which didn't necessarily clear everyone in the Trump world, but it didn't have any sort of that smoking gun that his opponents saw would ultimately end him politically. And there's a number of other things. If we want to get into more specifics, we can. But it is tough when you're throwing out, as the president did, so many things there that we almost have to kind of break down the context of each of them individually. Otherwise, it just kind of gets all meshed together there.
Casey, what do you make of Trump's speech tonight? Because you teach now, but you also have a PhD in this stuff. You worked for a Congressional Research Service in the past. You're the one who would actually give the documents so that Congress could do its job. What do you make of what we just heard here? We heard a lot of grievances, but he also got into some facts in some cases that he's upset about. What do you make of that?
I wish I would have come up with a Golden Corral reference, right? It was a little bit of everything, the greatest hits, and a lot of the frustrations that the former president has, he's voiced before in mostly campaign settings and on social media. What's different now is that we finally transitioned out of the court of public opinion, right, where you can say anything and doesn't come with potential legal pitfalls, into actual court, right? Is where today, no matter what he says in front of a sympathetic crowd at Mar-a-Lago, no matter what he says on Truth Social, no matter what even his defenders and even Mitt Romney, in his case, his non-defenders say in his defense, not much of it matters when we talk about the legal liabilities that he may face. And as was pointed out by other folks, he's got a lot of legal liabilities. This one is the current version of today. But as the former president talked, he kind of reminded all of us about the Georgia case, the documents case, the business fraud case. And so he's kind of batting around these legal facts and misfacts, and no one's able to call bluff on it. But when you get down to it and actual indictments come, charges are filed, and then he has to present a defense in court, it doesn't matter what you say publicly. You have to prove yourself innocent, or at least not proven guilty. So transitioning into that more court phase will come with political implications, especially as we have until December, if nothing changes, that's when the next court day will actually be. So it's two things competing at once, right? The politics and court of public opinion, and then now we've transitioned to this actual court phase, which is a very, very different beast.